I'm an environmental psychologist. They almost always say the same two things. So first they say, environmental psychologist. Okay, so you must ask trees about how they feel, right? And this, I think, clearly is a very witty comment that I have never heard before. Then when I mention workspaces, they almost always say, I hate my office. And this is not surprising. Research has found that only about 53% of workers say that their workspace enables them to work effectively. So the natural world has this amazing environmental restoration capacity, which can both calm us and have very physical impacts on blood pressure, stress hormones, but also at the same time sort of makes us more alert and focused. So when people think about, well, how do we harness these great benefits and bring them back into our built environment today through biophilic design, you often tend to get this idea of like a cubicle, and then as an afterthought, you bring in a potted plant to try to make it a little bit better. And that's great, definitely bring potted plants into your cubicle, please. But what we find over and over again is that the type of environments that support, the type of things that support our well-being in the built environment link back to features and shapes and patterns that would have supported our survival in our evolutionary past. So I call this the mystery novel model because what we're drawn to in landscapes is somewhat like our intense fascination with mysteries. We're sort of curious about the mystery, but we want to be able to read a book or a landscape, find our way around. And all of the Law and Order episodes and Agatha Christie novels, how many of them don't unveil the murderer? We want to get to the end of the mystery. And researchers believe that we like this same sort of balance in our environments because it offers the right amount of shelter, but also the promise of new information, potential new sources of nourishment. So we find this specific sort of balance of order and complexity in beloved built environments around the world, much like we find order and complexity for the ear, also known as music, in all traditional cultures of the world in different forms. So what is it about this balance of order and complexity that we're so drawn to? It turns out that nature is consistently defined by fractal geometry. And if you can't remember exactly what fractals are, just sort of look at the overall structure of this tree here. You'll see that the overall shape is replicated in smaller, self-similar forms as you look at the branching of the bigger branches, smaller branches down to the twigs. When people are involved in crafting their own environments, it tends to produce a greater sense of agency, efficacy, and pride. And on a communal level, this fosters a quality known as collective efficacy. Collective efficacy sort of brings together a sense of informal social control, trust, a whole variety of things, a sense that we as a group in this neighborhood, in this office, have the power to creatively do things, change things in our environment. When communities have high rates of collective efficacy, they also tend to have less litter, less vandalism, less violent crime, and people tend to feel more empowered to tackle social and